Hey guys, Don here. I want to share a little bit about an experience I had yesterday. I don't know if you guys know, but I've tried a lot of different things in terms of helping my business, and one was back in the beginning when I first started. I tried BNI, which is Business Network International, which was where we met weekly. To me, it kind of felt like a small, like a support group for floundering businesses. It just wasn't. It wasn't when I was. I felt like I was more of a giver than a taker. And then I tried the Chamber of Commerce for a little bit, and I was listening to a lot of different podcasts on marketing. One was I Love Marketing, and they talked a lot about this guy named Dan Sullivan and his group. It's called Strategic Coach. I don't know if you've heard of it. I think in our midst as podiatrists, I only know a couple of podiatrists that have gone to Strategic Coach, and I've been in the program for a number of years, and I just had my last session yesterday. It was via Zoom. So let me tell you, if you've never had any coaching, kind of what this type of program is like. There's a lot of different types of coaching programs. Some are one-on-one, and others are in group. And the I've tried kind of both. I've been in this group format for a long time, and there's a couple of benefits about being in a group. And so the format of the day is basically you take a day off in the middle of the week, and that's the first thing I want to start talking about here. I know a lot of us, we're so busy working in the business, we never work on the business. And Stephen Covey talked about that. The Michael Gerber in the E-Myth, he talked about that. We have to have time to get our head out of our businesses. And that's what I find the biggest benefit of getting away for a day. Some of these days are better than others, in my opinion. I can get more things done or more things planned for the next quarter. And so we actually meet every quarter, so every 3 months. In the past, I was going to Toronto for years and years, flying. I usually went on a Wednesday after work, and I was there all day Thursday, and then I flew back Thursday night, and then I was seeing patients on Friday. The format of the meeting are these sessions usually from 8 until about 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. And the real benefit, in my opinion, are the small group breakout sessions. So we talk about a certain topic, and then we break out into these groups of 3 or 4 people, and then we talk about it amongst ourselves. And this was really the greatest benefit, and it is still the greatest benefit. Now, I tried to do this with the group sessions, and it kind of flopped. So we are going to stop those group sessions that I was doing because no one really interacted. And I think the cause might be twofold. I think part of it was my fault because of the time I chose. I only wanted to do it at noontime, and I didn't want to take up any other time doing it. And I think that was the first issue, was the noontime. The other issue, I think, is people are just busy. You guys are seeing patients, so to do something like a group format, either a mastermind, would have to be a dedicated group that's interested in taking a half day and doing it during the week, or people that are actually wanting to do it on the weekend. And I personally just don't want to do it on the weekend because it takes away from family time. So we're going to scrap that idea for now until we get another idea. But I'm going to still keep going to Strategic Coach because every time I get something new and I have new ideas. What are some of the cool things that Dan Sullivan does? Well, he puts out a book a month, or a book a quarter. So every quarter there's a different book. You can go to their website, strategiccoach.com, and they have a lot of learning resources. But he's prolific in the way he does these books. But these books are basically done through interview format. So he interviews someone, or someone interviews him, and then he talks about it in his book, and someone else writes it. So it's a lot of delegation and using what he calls who's to help do work. What was my main takeaway from this last coaching session? We were talking about how to have more engagement with our staff and how to have more engagement with our patients. And that's one thing as we get more involved, and one thing that we can kind of measure with our patients are how involved they are, for example, in the office, in referring people, in social media, and things like that. And we have to ask ourselves how engaged we are, or how engaged our patients are. Now, one of the struggles I think some of us have is in terms of this engagement is we may not be engaged. We might be bored, and that's kind of the area that I am, truthfully, It's we opened up our second office, and then you're kind of, well, what's next? What's the next challenge that we're going to have once we already opened up the second office? That's where I feel. I think a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, we kind of finish the one thing, and we want to know kind of what's the next thing that we're going to do. So what are the next things for me? The focus this quarter for me is on getting and finding more referring doctors. And so we kind of pick a focus and we set up kind of our quarter. And so my focus is getting more referral doctors. And I had a couple of good ideas that came from this session. And I don't know if anyone is doing this yet, but actually I talked to Brett Ravatsky recently in an interview, and he mentioned he did something similar. And this is actually doing a newsletter. I do one to the patients, the 3-minute video newsletter, but I really wanted a newsletter that would go to my referring doctors. Okay, so basically, let's say there's 100 doctors over the last couple of years that have referred. I want to find a way to get a piece, something in their hands that's going to give them value once a month. And I think it's going to be a print newsletter because it's really hard to get people's emails, and it's just so easy to delete an email, and it's so hard to not delete. It's so hard to not, to get rid of something that's in front of you. And the only thing better than getting a newsletter in front of them would be getting me in front of them, or a practice representative in front of them. That would even be better, but with COVID right now, that's a challenge. So I was looking for a couple of newsletter services, and then what happens is, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but what happens is inside us come up all these kind of reasons why not to. What are people going to think? What are the referring doctors going to think? Are they going to stop referring to me? Are they going to think it's hokey sending out a newsletter? How much time is it going to take me to actually do my own newsletter? And these are all the thoughts. I don't want something that I have to design every month. I don't want to do that. So I found one that I'm looking at a couple of different ones that you can do. They come out, let's say on the 15th of the month, and you have some time you can modify some of the content in it, and then you upload your list and it'll send it. Now the neat thing with Athena, which I use, it's really easy to get your referring providers, and you can rank them according to how much they refer to you, like how much revenue you earn from them. And with this newsletter service, I think you're limited to 200 newsletters. The neat thing is in newsletters is you would take, it's $70 to be, like, I guess it's a member or something like that, and then you pay like a buck a letter for 200. So it's $200. So it's really inexpensive in terms of, if you think about it. It's going to take a little time on my end, kind of putting it together, and then some convincing to my partner that it's not too hokey, because that's the thing. I think a lot of us were really concerned about our image, right? But what we have to realize is no one really cares about our image. They're really not. They want us to make sure we're doing good work, and all of us are doing good work. But what we have to do is we have to have a value message. So what would I include in that newsletter? Basically, it would include, let's say, a link to my patient newsletter, a link to some of these webinars, an educational piece on a certain topic, how to do referrals easier to us, and things like that. So that's kind of my takeaway. Now, was my takeaway from my whole coach session just that? Well, there were some other ideas, and they're all kind of written down, and I'll go through them if you guys want to know. But if you want to check out more, you can go to strategiccoach.com. They have a lot of great resources. That's the one that I chose. You can choose someone else. You can do individual coaching. I just think people should have some type of a coach to get them to the next level. Now, a lot of people ask me, gosh, you're out of the office for a day. That's, let's say, $5,000 or something like that. But in terms of the biggest benefit for the first 3 years of Strategic Coach was actually learning how to set up my life to have free time, because I think as podiatrists we just think we have to work all the time, and so we're working during the week, and then on the weekend we're doing other type of work, or we're doing the social media. So it really separates your days. So in the first couple, like 3 years, you just learn how to set up your life and have a nice life. And then after that, then you kind of work on the growth aspect and learning how to delegate, learning how to do these things that we just don't learn. So that's it for today. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me know if you guys have any great newsletter companies that you use, or who you've used for coaching. I know my friend Lorcan is going to be starting up he does some coaching for people as well. So he does a really good job with that. Just a kind of a shout out to him. And we'll talk to you guys later. Okay, see you at podiatrypracticemastery.com. Get all this information. Okay, we talked about. Okay, bye bye.